Three, two, one. All right, welcome to Mediocre Rebel Brothers. I'm Jordan, your host, and the team Corey, Edwin, and Udon. Today we'll be discussing on difficulty across video games. But before we do, let's go ahead and go around and discuss what we did for the week. Corey, how about yourself?
So this week I've been getting close to wrapping the monthly game. I tried Uden Chronicles for a little bit. I set up a Sega CD and got some recording on that, which is kind of cool. And I've put together the first video for our YouTube page that we'll be eventually setting up. So we're getting close to launching that. But yeah, it's been pretty busy, but rolling into a 3-day weekend was kind of nice.
Considering most of what you just said happened like within yesterday going into today for like a week of events.
Yeah, no, it was a pretty busy week in general, but like everything that I got to like do yesterday was just really fun. So that and the new Fortnite season dropped, and I know that we played a little bit of that.
Well,
yesterday.
I was playing it. You were disconnected.
I was
on radio.
Yeah, my car. My car was doing what it was doing. I suppose, Udon, you want to
go? Sure. Well, considering that we have actually had 2 weeks in between, I have managed to actually play games despite my work completely fucking me this week. But I've been playing I played a lot of Cyberpunk last weekend. I'm in the middle of the Phantom Liberty DLC for that. It is pretty good. I like it. Like, it's just a thumbs up for me. It opens up like a new ending that you can do at the end of the game, and then the actual like storyline, I guess, in the Phantom Liberty is very like almost like action movie-esque. You fucking like save the president after they crash down in the middle of fucking Night City, and like you're in Dogtown, which is like almost a miniature city within Night City that's even somehow more degenerate than Night City itself. And I finally met my match. I tried just punching the shit out of the entire army of that place, and that ended horribly.
There's an entire
I had
like
to try. I had to try because I got there and I'm like, I'm gonna pull a Skyrim right quick and I'm gonna save and I'm gonna try and murder everything.
Yeah, no, it's like trying to get into Dogtown at the very beginning of that DLC it was like if you pull up the hacking system, you see so many red dots, it's ridiculous. There's 4 army trucks. There's 4 mechs, and then there's just a bunch of soldiers just everywhere. My game crashed because there was too much loot on the ground.
That's what made me want to try, because I was like, finally, a challenge. But I lasted a solid like 5 minutes before I finally got overwhelmed. But that's pretty fun. New story dropped on my Fate Grand Order, which is, part of my gacha game, but again, has probably some of the more intriguing and more interesting stories I see in most modern games nowadays. Let's see, what else? Of course, I just finished the monthly game. Not a big deal there. We'll talk about that more next week. What else? What the hell? Something's bugging me. I felt like I played something else. I guess I just kind of fucked around and got a couple new retro games here and there and just testing out stuff, bunch of Mario things. I got Sunshine and Toadstool Tour and Galaxy over the weekend.
What is Toadstool Tour?
Mario Golf. Gorf?
Mario. Sorry, I turned into Goofy for a second.
Yeah, sorry, it's a nervous tick I have. No, Mario Golf Toadstool Tour on the GameCube.
I've never heard of that. But
it's like the most basic bitch like Mario sport clone ever, but it's just like relaxing. Well, it's not even like wacky or goofy. It's golf, but with Mario characters, and occasionally a chain chomp might bite you, I guess. It's not like the new one on the Switch where you're like running all over the place and throwing shells and shit at people. It's like the most tame thing imaginable. I kept feel like I had something else nagging at me. Maybe it'll come back to me later, but that's about it. I actually said got some gaming done, so it was nice. And of course, I did try the new Fortnite season with Corey, but I was mainly playing it and just kept getting left in a 1v2 situation because Corey kept going into the void every couple minutes.
Thank you, Internet.
Yeah, I think that's all I can think of right now. So, Edwin, what did you do?
Well, I've beat the monthly game, so I have to say that for later. But I also beat Cult of the Lamb, and then it has one of those post games that I don't really like, where it's just like, cool, you beat the whole game, now play it all over again, but this time just continuing. Pretty much New Game Plus, but it's like just the same thing. So I was like a little disappointed in that, but apparently it's, regardless of the fact that you're doing it all over again, it's for a different story compared to what you did it all for the first time. So I don't know. It's like you fight gods, and then and like the post game, you have to fight those same gods again, but this time it's to put them to rest in the afterlife. So I don't know much about that because I haven't started after getting the credits, so I don't know much else after that. I don't know if the bosses are any different than they were the first time. So find out eventually. But besides that, I finally started Cyberpunk again after not playing for several weeks.
Binding.
I didn't play it for too long. I maybe played for like 2 hours and didn't get a lot of stuff done. But besides that, I literally just like tried one of the games that I bought. It was just Ben 10. I forgot what
Ben
it was called.
10.
Yeah, it was like a triple pack. I looked on the internet which Ben 10 I love Ben 10, so I was curious about the games because I kept seeing them. So I just googled what like the best Ben 10 games were. And then apparently I found that there was a triple pack with the 3 most popular ones on there. So I just played a little bit of that. And it's kind of weird. It's a little disorienting because it's like overly pixelated on the 3DS because it's a regular DS game, but it's like 3D models on a 2D plane. So it's kind of strange to look at. But I mean, the game's not bad. I don't know. I'm having a decent time with it.
Now, when you say you like Ben 10, are you talking about like the original series? Because there's like 8 of them now.
I've seen the original Ben 10. I've seen Alien Force. I've seen Ultimate Alien, and right now I'm watching Omniverse, which I've never seen before.
All of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay. I was like the very new one. I'm not watching that shit. It looks like garbage.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm skipping that. I am only watching Omniverse because everyone said that it was good, and it is actually pretty good. I like it. So besides that was the last thing that I played.
Are you playing this via like a totally legit copy, or did you find this at the game store?
No, I'm playing. I bought it off of GameStop, so it's a legit copy. I don't think they take counterfeits.
God.
Okay. No, I didn't say counterfeit. I said totally legit copy.
Huh? Well, I mean, I don't know if they like,
How
have.
How dare you accuse him?
It looks like an actual. It's smudge and everything. I mean, it looks like a legit copy. It's like I don't know if like GameStop has like their own way of finding counterfeits, but all the ones that I have are pretty legit. I was gonna play Diddy Kong, and then I found out there's like a bunch of sticker marks on the back, so I gotta clean that off.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Okay.
I suppose.
So, I hooked up my Super Nintendo and I was playing some good-ass games myself. I was playing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, the Turtles in Time, and then played me some other ones. Yep, yeah. That's the that's that side scroller, walk to the side and smack people with sticks or whatever you choose based on whatever turtle you use.
Basically our childhood.
Yeah.
We played that game every day that you came over.
Yep. You could constantly keep playing it and never get bored of it. You just have lots of fun throwing people into the screen, slamming people left and right. Just those simple things you would do in a beat 'em up kind of game. And then I jumped on Well, go ahead, Corey. You had something to say?
No, I'm trying to clear my throat, but I'm trying to do it away from the microphone.
Well, you failed.
What is it? Then I got onto some Mystic Quest. This was the attempt to try to get Westerners to play a JRPG, I guess, back then, and was trying to bring myself back into that game because obviously that was something I just played first offhand when I was little. Now I wanted to jump back and see what it was like. Still got some groovy tunes to it. It was kind of funny that when you're hitting people, they constantly change, and I guess if they're getting worse, they end up getting like a bandage on their head, and they start breaking apart or something like that, like trying to show that you're winning. Basically, they're on their way to dying, and so here are some things to see along the way.
On my way to dying.
Or then they fight those slimes, and they get all caked up.
Yeah.
But then you're just going through and you're watching, and the dialogue is shit. It's funny. I named mine Jeff because it just seemed to stick to the story.
My name's Jeff.
My name is Jeff. And so I've just been playing around with some retro games here and there, just trying to have some fun. But
failing, but I'm trying.
Yeah, I'm really trying here.
It's pretty rough out there.
I'm trying to find my fun.
Exactly. Well, that's basically all I had done for the week. So let's go ahead and jump into our polls. So the poll was, what video games do you find more difficult? You had A, retro, B, modern. Winner was retro. What do you guys think of that?
Before we dive completely into this, I have to say this is a shout out to Hambone, who called me after our party game talk, and he was upset that we never mentioned Rock Band. So Rock Band, yes.
All right, moving on.
Just throw that in there.
I played a lot of Rock Band, and I'm sorry, Hambone, that we didn't talk about it. So
I'm sorry that didn't fit our fucking definition. Rock Band's a rhythm game.
It is a rhythm game, but yes. So I'm sure you'll call me after hearing this. And, let me see more.
Hey, Hambone, fuck you. Learn what a party game is. Anywho,
the retro. I totally agree that the retro games. I mean, depending, obviously, if they're arcade ports, they're going to be harder because they were designed to consume quarters. But I think just limitations of software in general from retro games is what makes them more difficult, because you didn't have all of this extra programming of mini maps and stat tracking and all that crap. So it's somebody would tell you to do something, or you would see an instruction one time, and if you forgot what it was, good luck.
Your ass was grass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember going to Pizza Hut, and they had the Metal Slug arcade game, and that was one of my favorite arcade games when I was younger. And then I bought it on the Xbox 360 arcade, and I wasn't spending quarters on it, but goddamn, was I still getting pissed off that every time I died, because it's just so much bullshit happening.
The game is really fun,
one very second.
Well, arcade games are designed for you to spend money. They're supposed to be lopsided and killing you. It's the same way as you play a fucking on-rail shooter in an arcade. It's unless you are some insane god, you're going to get hit because it's going to slowly tax you in order to make you get rid of fucking health to put in more coins.
Yeah, whatever god player beat Dragon's Lair in one shot.
Yeah, but it's quote unquote possible, just not very probable.
Yeah. Is there a chart saying what was the most profitable arcade game?
I think it was Galaga. I think it was actually Galaga, but because I think it caused a quarter shortage in the nation. So
they're all in the machines.
They're everybody sucks at Galaga. Or
can we get some back, please?
How is it causing a quarter shortage? Why don't you guys get better?
Namco, we need some quarters back. We'll trade you dollars, please. Well, sometimes I feel people might I don't know, not they coincide difficulty with either bad game design or just frustrating game design, because it's is it difficult to get through the water temple in Ocarina of Time, it's like on the surface, yes. It's like, is it hard? Is it hard because it's hard, or is it hard because it's just not designed in a way that's very intuitive? So you're going to spend the entire time running in circles trying to figure out where you're going. Like to me, I question whether that's like actual difficulty. Because when I think about difficulty, I think about like a difficult boss fight or something that like challenges your reflexes or your build or whatever you're doing. Not necessarily like
Yeah.
Just running around with my head cut off because I don't understand what's happening.
Yeah, and like Stellar Blade has this with the second to last boss fight. That boss fight was the hardest boss fight in the entire game to me, and it's like everything else wasn't really that bad, but this particular boss sucks, and I was like losing my shit. And probably a get good moment, of course, but it's like every combo that you've learned, everything that you've done, this is the moment. But it wasn't like some games where it'll be like the character has 1 billion health. You're like, well, it literally is like a struggle to just get through like a health bar, not because it's difficult, but because it's just like I'm running out of resources because this thing is just too much of a wall.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's like, again, it's like you can say it's like, what's the challenge? It's like basically, hold out until you win, essentially, I guess, question mark. It's
Yeah.
like, or is it just like, it doesn't even feel like a challenge. It just feels like, well, you're just wasting my time. I'm going to have to like beat my head against this wall until I finally make a crack in it, sort of thing.
Yeah. And it sucks too because I feel like more modern games have the issue of like, well, some people don't understand difficulty, especially when they think about it from like they're trying to copy a Souls game. And I'm not going to turn this into like a Souls episode, but just using this as a reference of when people they always look at Dark Souls and like people love it because it's hard. So that when they make a copy of it, they just make the enemies ridiculously like strong for no reason. But the level design sucks, and it's like, no, the level design's the thing that's really good about Dark Souls. You're missing it. And just because you have bad enemy placement and like health like sponges, that doesn't mean the game's hard. It just means it's unfair.
Yeah, like, I've seen a video of like Dark Souls 1 with no updates and no patches, and that thing is unplayable. I wouldn't want to play it. It's just absolutely like unfair and garbage. But because before we like skip past it, I did look up the most profitable arcade games. The first one was Pac-Man, the most profitable. Second, Space Invaders, and 3, kind of surprisingly to me, is Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition.
Yeah. Space Invaders was the quarter shortage, I believe. I think it was one of those like shooter games, one of those space shooter games. I figured it'd be like Centipede or something, but
well, I'm not gonna read all the paragraphs, but besides like Dark Souls, like Crash Bandicoot is like also just like did Crash Bandicoot have like that shadow that they put in like Super Mario 64 to help you with platforming, or no?
I think he does have one. I don't know if it was in the original. My most recent memory is playing the like what is it, the Insane trilogy or whatever, the like remaster.
Yeah, that's the remake.
Yeah, that game it's just difficult because I feel like I'm fighting the controls. Like it has like a slight delay in the jump press, the camera angle and how the game plays because it's like fixed cameras. I think it's just hard for precision platforming when you don't really have control over like the direction and like your aim. So you kind of just have to hope you jumped far enough. And I feel like that happens a lot in that game.
Yeah, like the only Crash Bandicoot that I like last played was on the PlayStation, which was Wrath of Cortex, which that was
3.
I have absolutely no idea, but it's like I remember like having issues in like specific levels where it's just like I jump too short, I jump too far, and it's just almost impossible. So that's what I don't remember. I feel like I wouldn't have that issue if it did have the shadow like placement on the ground so you can see where you're going to land, like in 64. I know it's like that was like you couldn't play Mario 64 without it, but it's like I remember there was a game that was a platformer that I did have that issue with, and for some reason Crash Bandicoot comes to mind.
Well, like, I feel like that's, again, it's like, people, I remember when the Insane Trilogy came out and a lot of people played Crash Bandicoot for the first time. It's like, it's the Dark Souls of platformers, because even though you say you don't want to turn into a Souls-like episode, like, Souls-like in and of itself has become a term used for hard difficulty in games, something that's difficult.
Yeah.
And I when I played the Insane Trilogy, I was one of those people, that was the first time I, like, really played Crash Bandicoot. And I remember getting to the God-forsaken bridge level.
Yes.
And it's like, is this hard because it's designed to be hard, or is it hard because this game is shit? And I'm just like, I came to the conclusion that, no, this game is just shit, because you can't, not like, I mean, not as a whole, but like the fucking bridge at like the bridge segment is difficult because it's just designed like ass. Because not only like Crash Bandicoot has this problem with the fucking camera angle, because I can't see where the fuck I'm jumping. All the things you slide off of, I can't tell where I'm jumping and all this other shit. Like, even just that few things, and you slide off it constantly, so I can't see where I'm landing, especially when you have to platform on these really narrow areas, and when you have those fucking turtles to contend with that you have to get in just the right position so you can jump on them. Like, all that combined, it's like, I don't think you intended it to be this hard. It just is because of how you designed it. Like, this level's just ass.
And it's weird because, like, I like the visual upgrades, and I feel like they might have kept the controls exactly the same because they're trying to, like, really capture the experience rather than modernize them, because the controls do not feel smooth. And that was like, that was the fighting against it kind of thing. Cause I'm like, I swear I pressed the fucking jump button. And like, that's not, when you're playing a platformer, the last thing you want a player to do is be like, I swear I pressed the jump button. That's supposed to be the main thing, you know?
Yeah, unresponsive. It gets like unresponsive controls. It's not difficult. It can make a game. It can make a game difficult, but it's like artificial difficulty. It's not because the game is difficult; it's because the controls don't fucking work. You know.
Well, yeah, and it's, you know, I would say like a difficult platformer that kind of revolves around like that genre. It would be like Sly Cooper, right? The first one, because I believe you get hit once and you're done. Like, and it was more of an open level design, but the game's designed around stealth, and they did really cater to that pretty well. Like, the game itself was really fun. I don't think I ever like got super angry about dying because it didn't happen in like super cheap ways often, I suppose. So like they handle that very well because it's like they want you to be stealthy. That's why you don't have this huge health bar, because the game is about being a thief and not stealth is optional mission meme here. You know? So, and you see that with a few of those games where you know they're like imitating them, and then they grab the wrong thing to kind of push to the forefront, where it's like, no, you're doing this wrong, you know. And that's why they get a lot of the Souls games wrong, you know, and the retro aspect of like older games like Nintendo. I think those games are designed to be difficult because you didn't really have a lot of other things to play either. So like they're designed around game padding difficulty. So it's like you got to play it like 100 times until you learn the entire game, and because it's like, is Mega Man really a hard game? Not so much. If you played it a bunch and you know what's around every screen pan, then you can probably walk through the entire thing, especially when you know the boss order. So like older games had this like difficulty built in, but it was kind of like a downward slope, because as you like begin to master them, like you can just walk through it. But more of the modern games that do the difficulty like that, there isn't a downward slope. It's just bullshit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it goes back to what I said at the beginning of it. It's like, once I know how to do the water temple, I can just fucking walk through it with no issue at all. You know, as soon as I know how to do it, it ceases to be difficult. It's not like, again, it's not like a boss fight where, while having prior knowledge of it would probably help, would still make, you know, force you to try, you know, as opposed to just, you know, not knowing what the fuck you're doing, which is part of the issue.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I know, and like I said, I know you didn't want to turn into a Souls game, but like Dark Souls and FromSoft stuff is like been a central part of like difficulty in games conversation for a while. Again, like literally, like it's the Dark Souls of blah 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 is a fucking meme because it's just used as a way to just fucking gaming journalists who don't know how to write anything to fucking
it's like there are other games, there are other hard games, you know.
Well, I mean, it's like the difference between retro and modern is the fact that the modern try to make things difficult, like in the old games, but the problem is that the old games were harder because of like the game design wasn't well, or the limitations, and then Dark Souls specifically, it is made to be an unfair game. It's not that it's just hard; it's just designed to be unfair. While in retro games, you had to deal with stuff like fixed camera angles, unresponsive controls, and then tank controls. So
I don't think Dark Souls is designed to be unfair. I think that's being unfair to Dark Souls because I think Dark Souls is just the thing that people have a problem with Dark Souls is the fact that it's just punishing and people don't have the patience to just not be complete imbeciles. Because I said it in our overrated episode, but I will stand by the fact I do not think like any of the FromSoft games, that at least the ones that I've played, can't speak for Bloodborne, but are not difficult. You just don't be stupid, and they're incredibly easy. Like, well, yes, they're gonna still have cheap shot, mechanics, and that might kill you every once in a while. But that's again, it's not even really difficulty. It's just the game being the game designers being a dickhead.
Well, it's like it's unfair in like very specific ways, but it's like obviously like cheaper methods to get past it all. But it's like more on the older ones. I don't believe Elden Ring has that many issues with it. I was like, I know I still like, regardless of the fact that I played it a bunch, I still have like some bullshit like tidbits about it. But like I played Armored Core. That one wasn't terrible. It was like it didn't seem unfair, but a lot of FromSoft games like kind of eat off the fact that that a lot of the gaming player base cannot deal with the fact of patience and timing. Which if you did master those two things, then no Dark Souls game or boss will get the better of you pretty much, because everyone is just like, it was like he's one hit, go for the extra hit, and then you just die in one hit.
Yeah, and then you get locked into oblivion.
Yeah, don't get greedy. Also, the real test of patience is Sekiro, because holy shit, out of all of those games, all the FromSofts, that one is, to me at least, the most difficult. Armored Core does something that's really cool, and that is the loadouts can, like, when you buy and sell parts to build your robot, you can buy and sell at the exact price that you bought, and that you bought the item for, rather than diminishing it to like a 25% of your base, so that it keeps you from having to replay missions to farm money, because like then the game just turns into a grind. So when you go into a mission and your robot is not doing the job, you can just make a different one and then try it again with a different build. Because I feel like in that game, all the missions are tailored around specific builds. Now, there are cheese builds for sure, but like you can have like a fun build and approach this mission with like, okay, I'm going to go fast with locking missiles, blah, 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 or slow and steady wins the race. And it's kind of fun that way. And a lot of the people that were playing it that were complaining, like, oh, this first tutorial boss is so hard. And it's like, get out of the way. He's just shooting missiles at you. Like, just hide behind all of the cover that's here. It doesn't get destroyed.
So it's like, so that beginning boss, the only reason that I had difficulty with it and I died like 3 times was because every time I got close to like get under him, he would fly away off the map to where none of my bullets or missiles would be able to reach him, and he'd stay on the opposite side of the invisible wall. And then no matter where I hid, like away from not being under him, like behind like cover or whatever, is like he just either destroy it or his missile would just go around it and hit me. So it's pretty much the only difficulty that I had with it is just those 2 issues. Like I can't control where the invisible wall is. He just hangs out behind there.
I didn't realize that the helicopter was the boss that everyone was talking about. I thought it was the guy that has like the wheel missile thing on him, like, and he sprays fire everywhere.
That is not a tutorial boss.
I thought that because they were saying like the boss at the end of the first area. So I was like, oh, they must mean like the first missions area, like the first major boss. Because I was like, yeah, he's pretty tough, but eventually I made a build and took him down. But then it's like, oh, you guys are all dying to the helicopter? Oh my god.
Well, you said the tutorial, that helicopter is the tutorial boss.
Yeah,
like,
no, but I thought like
level.
the first section, right? Because usually in like the Souls games, the first section is like, this is how the game works. Now that you know that, let's get on to like chapter 1, because we just played the like, beginning of the game kind of thing to kind of set the paces. I didn't realize that it was literally the helicopter. It's like, it's not even that hard. It reminds me of the guy that was having trouble with Cuphead, which I would say Cuphead is pretty difficult too, but it really captures what retro games were.
Well, I was like, he could, that was a different story. He couldn't just fucking read text and jump.
Yeah, no, he's pretty stupid. It's just like, yeah, I've done this before. Grabs controller upside down.
Yeah, it's that, and that's the whole thing. People fucking dunk on game, call it game journalist difficulty, because it's like we're trying to nail down what difficulty is, and like I haven't played Armored Core, but like what I'm getting from this is that like people are bitching like it's too hard, while Corey's over here being like, you're not playing the game right. It's like it's not that's too hard. You're just not engaging with the game as it's supposed to be engaged with, which is making it more difficult for you.
Yeah, you're like playing Mario Kart, wondering like, oh, there's no combos. And it's like, yeah, because there isn't combos.
Yeah,
you're playing the wrong thing.
Well, that's what I said. Like eats off like you not having patience. So it's like if you don't have patience, it's gonna be worse for you.
Yeah. I mean, that's how those are, and like Cuphead, like rolling into Cuphead, like that game really captures like retro games. Because like I remember playing like Super Contra and Metal Slug in general. Like those games is just like you're running, you're gunning, and then you like one slip up. I believe me and Jordan used to play Contra Shattered Soldier on PS2, and I think that's probably in the rankings of one of the hardest PS2 games ever.
Yeah, that game fucking hard as shit. God.
Yeah, and it's only like 5 levels. That's it.
Are you serious?
It's so hard, and the only way that I think I've ever beaten it was to give myself a cheat code to use 99 lives.
Yeah,
and I think
it still was hard. It's still hard.
3 by the end of the fucking game.
I cheated and I still couldn't win. I mean,
yeah, it was rough, but like the thing is though, the game is fun. Like it has that arcade feel where you're like you. It's weird because like if I die in like a Souls-like game or like Crash Bandicoot like 100 times, I'm gonna start like my neighbor's got to call the police, But Contra, I can die like 1,000 times, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, press start, because like they really nail the like fun part. Because even if I don't beat the first level, I know the second level is exactly the same. It's just more of the same thing. That's why like Turtles in Time was such a fun game for us too, because it's like the level is just a different skin. It's still just walking on a plane and you're beating up bad guys left and right, and they gradually just get kind of more difficult, but not really. The color changes and they have a little bit more health, but like the fun factor of that game really outweighs any of the other bullshit.
It's just like it's just side scrolling and then just like everything stopping you. There's like, oh, it's a fight section. The screen doesn't move anymore. It's just enemies coming at you. There's like, oh, that guy's green. He has the least amount of health. That guy's red. That guy is it literally the exact same guy, but it has more health.
That guy doesn't even do ninjutsu. He's just throwing fucking grenades at me.
He's just rolling grenades. What a cheap piece of shit. And it's funny because like Cuphead is like more of like a boss rush, right? And like fighting the bosses is fun because it's a pattern thing. It's a pattern recognition. So you're like, it's a timing game. It's the same thing like the Impossible game. The Impossible game was something that we played a lot at my house, and I would always hear the song playing. It was Impossible game and Trials. When I was coming home from like work or whatever, my roommates, I could hear the game outside the house, and they would just be playing it for hours. And it's just like, I can beat this, and like you die like for the 50th time in a row. But like, it's not about like beating the game; it's about getting farther than you were. And I think that like that really kind of captures that. I mean, the game's hard, like objectively hard, but it's fun to play. And I think that's that's the mix up with modern games, right? It's like the fun is lost in the difficulty. Whereas like the retro games knew how to like make a hard game fun so that you could play Ghosts and Goblins. Like you bought this for $60 and you're going to play it on Super Nintendo and you don't even know that there's another level after the first one because you keep getting fucking killed.
Well, that's the funny thing about those type of games is like if they have those challenges where you can get, bronze, silver, or gold, when it starts out, you start feeling good about it. Like, oh man, this ain't too bad. I'm getting myself gold, gold, gold. And then you start to try to keep the gold flowing. And then you find out it gets way too fucking difficult, and then you start saying fuck the gold, fuck the silver, and then fuck the bronze, and I'm just trying to beat the goddamn level. It's too fucking hard.
I'm just battling for credits.
Yeah.
Well, it's also in Cuphead. It was like if you die to any of the bosses, it gives you a progress bar, so you know how close you were to killing it, or how close you were to like the next phase. So it's just like it's very painful if you do die, because then you realize, oh, it has a third phase, like not even just two. And then it's like, oh, you were that close to actually beating the whole thing. It's just like, cool, my character is literally touching the end goal in that little chart they have.
Showing the progress of the player too is nice because like that's like the psychological thing, like the near miss. So you're just like, I was almost there.
Like, if anything, that pushes most players to be like, fuck, I was right there. Okay, I'm going to try again.
I'll do it again. Yeah.
You start getting more aggravated and then start making even worse choices.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you do okay, I'm going to do it perfectly this time. And you run in speed run and just like run straight into the freaking grave.
Yeah. I think
that one's on me.
I think what we've been like dancing around though mostly is just talking about difficulty in general, like what we're doing right now, and like the difference between it's like, is it difficult or is it a skill issue? Because it's just like most people don't think it's difficult, but then we have this other subsect of people who's like, no, it's way too hard. And of course, it comes to the fucking, again, I'll bring it back to Dark Souls. It's like the whole argument. It's like, should Dark Souls have an easy mode? It's like, no, get good. That's the whole joke, isn't it? It's like
honestly, like I don't know, and I'll challenge you to this, Edwin. What would an easy mode in Dark Souls even be?
Spellcasting.
No.
It's pretty insulting, but it was like, but Corey, you do remember when Demon Souls came out, and then you told me, hey, try the magic thing because you didn't do it, and then you had a somewhat rough time, but I would also argue it's because of the way you play, because you like your glass cannon build. But for some reason,
health, bug and dodge.
For some reason, it was like you already played the original Demon Souls, but then when I played it, I went straight for the magic stuff, and then you didn't even know like what magic sounded like, and then it was like,
what's that taste like?
It's like very pretty and it sounds really cool.
But yeah, the Demon Souls remake is. Before you continue, the Demon Souls remake is beautiful.
Yeah,
probably one of the best.
Well, there's like I'm bringing this up because it was like you played the original before, and then you're playing the remake, and then I'm not really sure what build you went for, but I went with the magic one, and then you had somewhat difficulty like beating the game, and then meanwhile. For me, it was like using the magic build. The regular Dark Souls games were harder than Demon Souls, and Demon Souls was the first Dark Souls in From Software's line of games. So it's just like, yeah, if you want an easier time, you can play the magic build. Granted, in the first ones, it plays like Dark Souls 1 and 2. It plays much differently than the newer ones, and I just hate the way it works.
In the original Demon Souls, I played as a magic user, so I didn't want to play Demon Souls again with the same class that I already done. But it's such a shame because like it was so pretty in the new one when you get the spells, like the particles and everything are just so good. So I was like, well, I want to experience this with like a different build. But like that's a play style, and that's the same thing that we said about, or I was talking about with Armored Core, right? It's like there's a play style that you can use to kind of make the game bend to your will. But if you were to make, by what the people are saying, Dark Souls needs an easy mode, the definition would be half the health of all of the enemies and half the damage that they all do, double the damage that I do, and that's what they're looking for. And it's like, but it ruins the game because the enemies are supposed to be imposing. You're not supposed to fight 15 guys at once. It's not it's not Devil May Cry. You know, it's when you see a piddly ass dude standing by a box who's got like no clothes on, a torn t-shirt and dagger, and you're like, if I play my cards wrong, that guy's going to kill me. Right. And I have a whole suit of armor on. So like the game is about like proceeding with caution, but they just want to get through it. Well, and it's you know, that's not what an easy mode is for. But it's funny because RPGs are starting to call easy mode story mode.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it's like, oh, for those that just want the story, you know, and it makes everything in the game just basically, you know, weak as hell. And then there's no challenge. Like, what is the point of a boss if it's not even a boss? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, it's just like,
the reason. Well, I mean, I agree with Edwin, honestly, when he says that it's like, what's Dark Souls easy mode? It's like magic casting. It's like, that's exactly what I mean by it's like, these games aren't hard. You're just refusing to engage with them. It's like, you want shit to be easy. Use the easy shit. It's the reason why I did magic in Elden Ring. It's like, you use magic in the Mimic tier. I'm like, yeah, goddamn right I did. They're in the fucking game. I'm going to use them.
And guess who beat the game?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, guess who beat it? And it's like, and the thing is, I can see the other side of the argument too, because it's like, when I play Pokemon, I distinctly don't engage with several of the mechanics simply because I just deem it too overpowered. Like, I don't use healing items in battle. I switch to set so I don't get free switch-ins every time you feint a Pokemon, like specifically just to make it to where it's even challenging for me. And it's just like, when I see other people, it's like using items, I'm not going to sit there and be like, no, that's not how you play. It's like, no, just use items. So you don't want to engage with it, it's fine. I just don't do it because I want to, more tough.
It's kind of like experience. A Nuzlocke challenge or something. Like you're making the game like what you would like to experience.
Yeah, so it's like, and then that's what I mean when I say that those games aren't hard. They're really not. You just be patient, and if you don't want to do a melee build, don't do a melee build. Just use magic. It's fine. And people tell you it's like, that's not legitimate. It's like, tell them to go fuck themselves. It's in the fucking game. You can use it.
I didn't have to put a Game Shark in.
Yeah. And then like
beat this game with a Game Shark.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, I can actually see the argument for people who want to see story in a game and just want piss easy, crybaby story mode. Because it's just like, I feel like the God of War 2016 and Ragnarok is an amazing story, and I can see how people who don't play video games would like to see it. And granted, they could just look it up on YouTube, but they don't want to see the game and actually play it a little bit. That game can be difficult. I mean, I only played it on like the average difficulty, but I could see how, and I had trouble on a few sections, like some of the earlier boss fights. That one wasn't too bad. I think by the time I got to that point in the game, I had more or less a build, which was just strength. And
it was really fun. Like I thought that fight was fun. It was not Smog and Ornstein, but like.
Oh no, it was really fun. Like, but it was challenging. Like I still died like I think like 2 or 3 times before I got it. But I can see how people who don't engage with video games like 100% of the time would be like, I kind of want that to be toned down a little bit. But on the same time, I don't like story mode in Dark Souls. Again, going back to what I always say, FromSoft games have basically no story, so no one wants that. And that they just want it to be easy, so they can say they beat Dark Souls. Like,
this is. I was gonna say that it's like you want story mode in Dark Souls, but it's like, bro, no one who's actually beaten Dark Souls know what the entire story is.
You can just buy the Dark Souls like Emporium book or whatever the thing is that has all the item descriptions and just read it, because that's what I have.
And I almost want to like move this forward to like talking like compare and contrasting like how like retro versus modern game difficulty, like if it really is getting harder, or if quality of life improvements are what are people misinterpreting for like, moving the difficulty slider at all. Because I know a lot of people bitch and moan about, the quest marker. Like, we'll just take Skyrim's as a prime example. It's like, I like love and hate it, right? Because in the past, when we were all kids and we had time to sink in hundreds of hours to figure out where the fuck that quest was, it was fine. But nowadays, I'm just like, yeah, just give me the fucking arrow. Tell me where I gotta go. Like, I don't have that kind of time anymore, man. I have like 30 minutes to play the game. Let me just keep this quest going without having to draw an entire map in my notebook and figure out where the fuck this shit is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
think that was like a little thing that JonTron made in one of his videos when he was talking about an old game. It was like the thing about an old game is if you were stuck on a level, that's it. You can't go to GameFAQs or anything because there was no such thing at that time.
You have to ride your bike to the grocery store to look through a tips and tricks magazine.
yeah,
Or get like a cheat code book.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Oh dang, my brain's doing a backflip right now.
Well, here's my thing. Like, I had a pretty recent experience in like figuring out what I thought was the difference between like, you know, retro game difficulty and like modern game difficulty, because I'm a big Pikmin fan, and so Pikmin 4 came out, you know, semi recently. It's like around probably about eight months ago at this point, so it's been a while. But I bought the game, I pre-ordered it, I played it when it came out, and while I enjoyed it, the game was kind of ruined by how easy it was, because Pikmin 1 and 2 were way more difficult, and it was primarily the introduction of that fucking dog.
I believe Pikmin 2 is the fan favorite, right?
People have a lot of problems with Pikmin 2, but Pikmin 2 is my favorite, because some people don't like somehow the dungeons are designed and all this other nonsense, like the day-night cycle, or the day cycle being kind of pointless and shit like that. And I only played through Pikmin 3 once, and I don't even remember it all that well, so I'm just using Pikmin 1 and 2 as a reference. But it's like, because the dog in Pikmin 4, the name of which I don't remember at this current moment, is like a companion, dog thing, whatever. The thing is, it makes the game so easy, because half the problem, like, I was just playing Pikmin 1 the other day, and in Pikmin 1, Olimar does not throw the Pikmin very fast. It's not like as fast as you can click the A button by any means.
Yeah.
And you only have like very limited motion with them, so piling them all onto an enemy all at once was really difficult, and they usually have chances to shake all your Pikmin off. But then they give you this dog in Pikmin 4, and not only can the dog carry all the Pikmin on its back, so it's automatically removing like your need to organize them to get them around obstacles and stuff, so you're not just like charging into places. It has this charge move that you charge it up, and the dog will ram an enemy, and it'll stun the enemy for an extended amount of time. But not only will it stun it, it'll launch all the Pikmin off of its back at once, and it'll all just auto-attach to the enemy. And you just use that the entire game, and no enemy will ever be able to stop you. The only thing that even gave me even remote problems was like the last phase of the final boss, when you just pulled out some instant kill mechanic bullshit. But it's just like, it just made the entire game trivial. Every single time, I would just be like, use the dog. Just get on the dog, charge the enemy, I win. Like, every single fucking time. There was no variance. Doesn't matter what enemy it was just the same thing over and over and over again. And it's like, well, then just don't use the dog. I'm like, but it's in the game. It's like, if I replay...
You can't not use it.
Yeah, it's like, I forget what the fallacy or whatever that is called, but it's like, if you give the player this like ultimate strategy, they're going to use it, because why wouldn't you, sort of thing. And that'll lead me back to like the Dark Souls and the Pokemon thing. It's like, if I replayed Pikmin 4, I probably wouldn't use the dog. I would just, I would have Poochie, I think its name was, now that I'm thinking about it. I know, really creative. But it's like, I wouldn't use it, because it's just like, it makes the game, you know, too fucking easy. It's the same way. It's just like, if you had a mod on Elder Scrolls that like removed the quest marker for whatever fucking reason, it's like you're having to artificially remove these things that help you, and in this case, like, make the game trivial in order to make the game difficult again, because of what they added to the game later. And then, like I said, I was like, and at the end of the game, I felt kind of like, I was like, yeah, that was okay, but I wish it was a bit more difficult, because it's like, in Pikmin, there's this enemy. There's like two enemies in particular there's this big liquid elemental dude with giant stone steamrollers in Pikmin 2 that's a really terrifying enemy because they're like halfway invulnerable. But part of what them being scary is that they're just roll after you constantly, like zoned in on you, and having to like control your Pikmin to get out of his fucking way was really hard. But then it's like the enemies in the new game, and it's just like get on the dog, run. No challenge at all. Just get on the dog.
Yeah.
Get the dog will just run away. And that's what I think of when I think of like differences in, you know, retro to modern games. And with with Pokemon is another example, mainly with the experience share thing, because it's like in whether grinding in and of itself is actual difficulty or just artificial lengthening of the game is a different conversation. But with the XP all and how easy it is to gain experience in new Pokemon games, it just kind of trivializes that whole process to the point where it might as well not even exist. Like, I mean, I never talked to any fucking trainers in Scarlet and Violet, and all my Pokemon were like completely overpowered the entire game.
Yeah,
I was wandering around doing whatever, you know.
Well, you can just farm XP in that game, whereas the older ones you had to like swap.
Yeah,
like,
you had to like engage with other systems of the game to like do stuff. So that's what I think of when I'm thinking of like the trivialization of certain games that I like, seeing how they're getting easier as they're getting newer, you know.
I know there's like a lot of handhold methods that are like happening in modern games that like kind of take the fun out of it, but somebody that I think did a very good job at like offering that to the player without it being over like a burden is Dead Space. Dead Space has the map marker where you like shoot a thing down to guide you, and most games now that line is always on.
Yeah.
But the fact that I can just like be exploring a thing, and if I get lost, I'm like, oh yeah, I can check my surrounding and like pulse to see like where that line goes. It's like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to be going this way. And it kind of like keeps my bearing, but like allows me to explore without constantly pestering me. Like, hey, you're going the wrong way. Hey, you're going the wrong way. Like, imagine like Mario Kart, for example, when you turn around and the guy comes down and he's like, you're going backwards. Like, that's what newer games are doing with all of these like mini maps and quest markers and stuff like that. Like, I would like to tell you which quest I want to track. Don't just default to tracking every single one that I have taken up, because there's so many, and I feel like it comes from people that, and I might be wrong on this, but like I think it comes from a lot of the like designers and things like that were working in mobile that have like made their way into like more of like the console PC space, because we never used to have notifications in our menu screens, but now I like go to a menu screen and there's like 5,000 notifications. And it's like, why do I have these? It's like, oh, because the tutorials that we showed you earlier, you never viewed them in this page. And then the quest that you picked up from that guy, I just wanted to remind you that you got a new quest. But it's like, I know I have a new quest because I talked to that guy. And so I feel like there's like a lot of like mobile gaming elements that are entering the modern game. And that's why, because mobile games are typically easier because they're designed for like travel purposes. They're not supposed to be difficult because, you know, I don't have a lot of time to play this game. And that it's nice to see newer games coming out without that. Like, I know that playing through Stellar Blade, there's some, like, you have a quest and you can tell it to track it, but you can only track like one quest at a time. It's not really marking it on the map. It just kind of marks it on your like compass of the direction you have to go. It does tell you the area in the map, but not like exactly point, like talk to this guy. It's just like, it's over here somewhere. And that's kind of nice. And another game that really handles difficulty well is Devil May Cry, because they have this skill-based ranking at the end of a match or a level. And the way that game works is the better you do, the harder the next level is going to be. So it kind of balances out. If you struggled a little bit with this level, the next one won't be so bad, so that it doesn't like just constantly punish you. And I think that's like a really cool way to like approach games in general, is just kind of having the game adjust to your play style.
What Devil May Cry are you talking about exactly?
The original.
Fuck no. I don't believe you. I had so much difficulty playing that game. I was just like, I felt like I was playing a Dark Souls game. It was just hard, it was just completely difficult the entire way through. Especially that guy that just never stays dead. He just keeps coming back after you. I feel like you fight that same guy like 3 times.
Sparta?
I guess. Does he always like run away after you beat him?
Because like story importance here, he's not supposed to get defeated by you like when you beat him the one time. It's like he's challenging you because he's teaching you.
Oh,
I thought Sparta was your father.
Well, spoiler alert.
I thought this was Sparta.
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to understand, like because I don't remember like anything saying it was like, oh, you did well in this level, you did terribly, because I felt like I was doing terribly the entire way. So it's like if the game's like difficult, but you don't know that beforehand, you can't really tell if you're doing good or not.
Like it has difficulty levels that you can select too, but it does like adapt its difficulty of the like enemy placement or enemy counts or something like that. Like it's kind of an interesting way to approach it because the same thing I think with some Final Fantasy games, like they have bosses that you cannot out level because they're scaled to whatever level you are when you encounter them because they're designed to test you.
Well, it's kind of hard to like know. I know there's like modifications in like some Pokemon games, like fan made ones, where they don't let you over level. And then I think the same thing happens in like official Paper Mario games, whereas like it decreases the amount of experience you get per enemy if you're too high level for the area.
Yes,
so
that happens that happens in the N64 Mario, Paper Mario. Like I noticed it when I actually sat down trying to gain a level. Like the same enemies dropped less experience every time I leveled up than they did the previous levels until the point that they just didn't drop any at all.
I've seen that in a few RPGs where, like, the more you kill something, the less and less experience it starts to give you. Because it's like, oh, these aren't worth your time or whatever, so we're not going to give you experience. And it's like, you're pushing me forward.
Yeah, it's like hidden factors like that. But it's like it's hard to tell if the game doesn't tell you personally or directly. There's like, are you doing well? That it's like it's making it harder for you, so you just have a difficult time the entire way? Or is it regardless of the fact that it makes it easier because you're having a hard time, that regardless you still suck and you're just going to have that whole problem the entire way through because you're not actually improving? If what you're saying is true for the first Devil May Cry, I have a hard time believing it because it did not get any easier. It was just I pretty much struggle bus the entire way through that game. I'm surprised I even beat it. But like the second game, well, it's like I'm not really sure. I was like, I'm not terrible at video games, but it's like the older ones. It's like obviously they have like a different way of play style and everything. The way they're designed, it's not like quality of life that you normally get now. But it's like after playing through, I bought the first 3 games of Devil May Cry. The first one was the most difficult. The second one was the easiest. I pretty much beat the whole thing without using the sword. I just shot everything.
Third one sucked.
I mean, the third one was my favorite.
The Cerberus
the third
is
one is
dick.
my favorite one, but yeah, Cerberus was a pain in the ass.
Yeah, the third one was the most balanced one to me. It's like it wasn't easy, but it also wasn't super difficult that I would complain every level, like the first one. But like the first one, I think the main issue that I had was like, I was like, hey, it's like I hardly have any money to buy anything from the store, and I'm like looking around every nook and cranny to try and find just a penny to buy a healing item at the store that I haven't bought anything for like the past 2 levels because I'm too poor.
I'm too poor, pup.
Please, sir, may I have some more?
Oh, I think the dynamic difficulty, from what I'm reading here, actually starts in like Devil May Cry 3.
Okay, so I just suck at the first one. Good to know. But it's like the difficulty in video game, like the hand holding stuff, because it's also the game can't give the player everything. Like the player has to like learn and adapt, because that's pretty much the way you get better at Dark Souls. Is like it gets easier because you're learning how everything works. But it's like it's stupid to say that it was like, oh, a game is hard because of the way you're playing it, but everyone says like, oh, it's easy. It's like, yeah, because they actually learned. You're just not learning, and you haven't played far enough to know how to do everything. Because people are asking, because like the whole like Dark Souls like is its own type of difficulty started because everyone started playing Elden Ring and never played any of Dark Souls games. So everyone who was a fan already knows how Elden Ring's gonna work more or less, but everyone is just like, this is their first Dark Souls experience, so like obviously they're gonna complain and whine. But it's like that, yeah, it's not gonna get you anywhere. Everyone already knows that. But then in Pokemon, everyone's saying it's too easy. I was like, make it harder. I was like, yeah, because you've been playing every single game and you're pretty much playing on a competitive tournament level. In the past, it was like, if you want to beat anything, or like just you want cheese mode in Pokemon, just fucking earthquake everything.
Well, it's like that I would push back on only a little bit, because I would still stand by the fact, well, I think the main issue comes from the experience buff share. It's just so easy to gain levels without even fucking trying. Like, when I first played Sword and Shield, granted, the wild area is cool, but I fucked around in that, and by the time I was done with that, I was like 20 levels over everything in my way without even trying.
Yeah, but I realized what the issue is. It was like, obviously it's like, it's just the Pokemon company's like stupid methods of like continuing to make Pokemon like specifically targeted for kids. So it's like we're gonna keep everything. We're gonna keep everything on like a, I don't know, 3-year-old grade level. But
well, it's also, like I can't even blame them. It's technically is a franchise for kids, but when I was a kid and it was marketed towards me, that shit was fucking way harder. Yeah, and it's not because I was stupid. Because it's like I said this way long ago when we first started this podcast, but it's just like the whole like tailored experience thing, and like they're perfectly capable of making, at least trying to make challenges, and just getting over them is like, you know, our you know, our skill, right? So like the whole Whitney milk tank thing, that was a legitimate skill check for what the developers knew you had to work with at the point in the game. That's why everyone remembers that fight, because it's pretty difficult. Because even in seasoned players, based on the tools you have at that point, that fucking milk tank is still going to be a bitch to climb over. Hell, fucking even in a more modern example with the Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, they made the whole Elite Four a bitch, not just Cynthia, and Cynthia's still a fucking menace. Like even me playing and like casually, like get it, like I wasn't even nuzlocking or anything. I was still doing my other rules, but I had full control over my team setup and everything, and I still went in that battle. I won, yes, but I still had to actually try for once in my life. And then you have Scarlet and Violet, where they just like miss the mark so many times, and I can see like them actually, because again, I would say it because the whole terrestrialization thing of changing your Pokemon's type, great idea. And I could only imagine that Iono would have been like almost a new age Whitney had everything still been on rails in a tailored experience, because of how she throws out a Mistrovis with Levitate and turns into electric type, so therefore it doesn't have any weaknesses. But if you fought her on an equal footing instead of just being a god by the time you came in and fucking killed her, like it would have been a really cool experience. Or how they jacked up the fucking shitty champion in that game by having her ace Pokemon have an ability whose whole point is that you throw it out first to put poison spikes in the arena, but she doesn't throw it out till last, which makes absolutely no sense. Like, it would have been a cool fucking thing where she throws out her ace Pokemon first, and that would have been a mix-up to how the usual formula works. It comes out first, spreads poison spikes, and now the player has to think every time they switch a Pokemon in, unless it's a flying one, it's going to get poisoned. But then they just make her use it last and make that whole ability like completely pointless. It's ridiculous. Like they have the ability, but they just don't do it, and so therefore it's just making the game easier. It's and I don't know. Again, I won't get on a whole Pokemon rant again, but that's just another example of how like they have the ability to make these games at least a little challenging. I can see the brilliance or see the possibilities, and they just don't take it. You know, that they used to. It bothers the hell out of me, because I respect, like, as much as I think Soul stuff is overrated, I respect the hell out of them being just like, we don't have difficulty levels. It's like, this is the game, this is the experience, either beat it or don't. It's like, that's it.
Yeah.
This is what you have.
Well, it's like it's the way the games are developed. Like obviously, Pokemon is on its own strange agenda, focusing on. Well, it's like the Pokemon is more focusing on the fact that it's just giving more quality of life to like the younger generation, so that way there's like it's not super difficult that you can't just jump right in, because that's literally what Let's Go was for. But it's like also giving so much quality of life where it's just like it's not super hard to level up a low level Pokemon if you want to switch it out and put it in your team, or you're trying to find a shiny or trying to make a max IV Pokemon. Like they're just giving a whole lot of more options to the player.
Well, they're hand-holding.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not exactly hand-holding. It's just like there's so much stuff in Pokemon where in the past it's like nigh uncontrollable, but now it's just like you have almost entire control of what Pokemon you're gonna get and how powerful or potentially powerful it's going to be.
Yeah, but I agree with you there, because it's like because it goes back to like quest markers. It's like, does the quest marker, like, is that removing difficulty or just cutting out the bullshit? Because it's like I are on the side of cutting out the bullshit for the most part, depending on what game we're talking about. But like how Edwin's saying it is that in Pokemon, again, I taught you, or rather, I will talk about it next week. But the point is that Pokemon, at least in the modern day, every Pokemon is completely unique, and you'll want a Pokemon that's a special attacker to have a nature that'll increase its special attack. And instead of going through, instead of me having to catch 300 Ralts trying to get that one that has the special nature IV fucking thing, I can just catch one. And now they introduce items that I can just buy and switch its nature on the fly to whatever I want. Or just IV train it to whatever I want, instead of having to look up which Pokemon gives those IVs, and that's only going into a whole thing. You guys have no idea what I'm talking about. And it's
very specific Pokemon.
Basically what, I agree with Edwin. It's just like, and I that kind of stuff, cutting out the bullshit, I agree with. But not cutting out the act. But I don't consider that difficulty. I just consider that busy work. That's game padding. So that kind of stuff I'm okay with.
Well, I was just saying, it's just like it's the way the games are developed. Like in Pokemon, it's like obviously if you take advantage of everything that it gives you, obviously it's going to be a much easier time than if you didn't use all that. But then there's like games where it's like, where obviously like Dark Souls, where it's like the game is designed to be overwhelming, and it's just like, well, you use the bare minimum because that's all we're going to give you to try and get through this game, and then go and find the things to kind of even the playing field, because at hardly any point you'll ever be like above the game itself, like as you progress through it, because obviously this is like, it's more like that unfairness where it's just like it'll never be an even playing field unless you take the time to actually try and make it that way, instead of just running through the whole thing. But then there's like games where the more you explore, like in Zelda, there's like obviously in Zelda, it's like you can do whatever you want, but because of that, you'll never really know like what you're gonna go up against. So it's just on like blind preparation of what you might need. Because in like the older ones, it's just like it doesn't have like a quest board or anything, so it's just like it's all based off of memory. So if you forget a specific little detail, like if you try and go to the water temple but you don't have the blue tunic, then you're just gonna have a harder time because you didn't take the time to go and find that. And then it goes all the way up to the new one where it's just like, yeah, you have a quest board now and it tells you, but you don't really have to follow it, because you can just do whatever the hell you want.
Well, yeah. I mean, the Breath of the Wild, like, questing and stuff is a lot nicer than, like, the quests of, like, the older games. I mean, you look at Ocarina of Time, you don't even have a quest log. Like, there are quests in the game, but you never know it if you didn't read a magazine or look up the game facts.
Or he didn't talk to that very specific person
Yeah,
in the
it's
corner
like,
that
oh,
had no
I didn't
relevance.
realize that I have to do this entire trade quest, very long trade quest specifically to get the Bigoron sword. But that's in the game, and it's not hidden. It's just hard to find. But I feel like it's more of they didn't know where to put it because they're very specific about their like design choices. And do they want to have one page that's dedicated to that one quest? Because there really isn't a lot of quests in that game. And every time you talk to somebody, they're not going to log it. Like the one chick who's like, "Oh, can you help me find my dog?" And then a modern game would be like, "Bink, old lady needs you to find her dog."
Quest started.
Quest started, and then you're like, "Oh, so I got all these little micro quest logs or whatever." It's like, "Oh, complete the bomb shop challenge, complete the whatever." Like the older because I feel like the older games they were like there's side quests, so there's special things that you have to remember because they weren't a part of the game. But now they mark all of these side quests in modern games because they want the player to try and do all of them because that's the game padding now. They want to get they're like coercing the player to get their money's worth, I guess. And that's just for like specifically quest stuff. Like when you look at Ocarina of Time, I would say, like you brought up the water temple. Is it hard? Yes. Primarily because I'm battling with the menu system because they went with iron boots as an equipable item similar to a sword and shield and not an item within the items page that is a toggleable thing because it wouldn't make sense for me to go to that page and do the thing I do on the other page, but only for one item. So they're like, that's sloppy design. We'll just let him equip it. And I know they did it because it's a cleanliness side of the UI aspect. And that ends up hurting us in the long run because in 64, it's like, I'm going to pause this game and equip this shit. And I'm probably going to spend 10, 15 minutes total in this entire dungeon just going to my menu and equipping boots. That they fix it in the DS version. So it's like they know that that's hard because they accidentally made it hard. But overall, the only reason why that dungeon the only reason why people mainly complain about that dungeon is because they're battling the UI, and that's the only dungeon in the entire game that you have to do that. Because in the fire dungeon, I don't have to equip my red tunic and then unequip the tunic because I'm too hot, and then equip it back in because I'm hot again. Like, it's like weird, like a weird design flaw from the developers on that side for the older game. A great example of difficulty, I think, for like a middle of the road retro game is the Sephiroth battles in Kingdom Hearts.
Really?
I think that they really handle those. Those fights are hard as hell, but they're really well done because
but aren't they optional?
Yeah.
They are optional, but it's like a challenge thing. But it's not cheap because it tests you in the same way that Stellar Blade boss fight tests you. It's like everything that you've learned in this entire game is going to be put to the test. And it challenges you as a player. It's not just like, it's not hard because Sephiroth is like impossible. It's just hard because you have to master the game.
Yeah. And I'll agree that that's like true, quote unquote true difficulty, as pretentious as that sounds. But it's like, because he's optional, I also don't think that the developers intended for the vast majority of people to even attempt to fight them, because this is like, here's a boss. It's the same way that we haven't really touched on like difficulty settings, because it's like, here's a thing that for the people who have like dedicated their fucking time to this game, who have learned it inside and out, here is like the ultimate milestone for you to overcome. This isn't like meant for like normal players to even touch, in the same fashion that's like some person who played Ragnarok 8 million times isn't gonna fucking play on story mode. They're gonna play on Give Me God of War difficulty because they know the game inside and out. And they want it more difficult because anything less is just not going to be any fun to them, essentially. And so people who played Kingdom Hearts the upteenth of their time and ability are going to be like, I want to fight Sephiroth because once I beat him, that means I basically mastered the game. Because I would lead it akin to like, going back to Elden Ring, because it's like, I know Melania is there, and she's, people pretty much attribute her to be the hardest boss in the game, even past the final boss. And it's like, yeah, but she's optional, so I'm not going to fight her because I don't care. It's like I don't claim to be in the upper echelon of Elden Ring players. I'm not touching that shit. If I don't have to fight her, I'm not going to do it.
But it's just the sense of accomplishment. Like people,
Yes.
like yeah, people play on like easier modes because they want to enjoy and relax. Meanwhile, the people who play like the harder difficulty, they want to feel accomplished. It's like in Sonic games where it's just like, oh, A rank. I was like, you feel accomplished because most of the people, it was like when they play casual, it's just like, oh, C, D, and F or E. Weirdly enough, but it's like obviously in like Melania and like Sephiroth, like those aren't really skill checks. Like they're optional, but that's because it's mostly like a sense of accomplishment. Like in the Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, there's more than just Sephiroth. That's more of a sense of accomplishment, but it also rewards you and shows it because every time you do one of those optional things, Sora gets a bronze, silver, and gold crown on his head that it just stays on him because you completed those things. But it's like one of the reasons that I like Kingdom Hearts 2 is because it's like the plethora of boss fights, and I just absolutely love all the boss fights. So it's like that's why I keep playing it over and over again on the hardest difficulty, because I was like, I just love the accomplishment of just beating all those unique bosses. So it's like I wouldn't play anything less because it's just accomplishing and it's fun for me. Meanwhile, the reason that I played Dark Souls over and over again is just because the difficulty and the adventure, and just to see if I'm any better than I was the last time. Like fuck all those bosses, because I'll still stand beside the fact that it was like it's unfair. That it's like, oh, the room is only twice the size of the boss, so he's always occupying half of the room. Yeah, that's totally fair. Meanwhile, I'm just a little gnat to him.
Unfortunately for me, I'm kind of the one that wants to have an easy go at the game. That's kind of why I'm very hesitant about wanting.
Really?
Yeah,
I never would have guessed it about you, Jordan.
That's just me, man. That's exactly it. It's like I've already dealt enough with fucking work and all that shit. I really just want to enjoy playing a game instead of constantly having to worry about I'm going to die every 5 fucking seconds. And I know that you guys were talking about patience is key, and unfortunately for me, I really don't have that. So that's kind of the thing for me, is I want to play the game because, you know, Corey already told me that these are the creators of Kingsfield, which was an amazing game back in the day that I was playing. But, you know, if I was wanting to get a taste of what the new graphics are today, that's, I guess, the only chance I'll get to do it is going to be playing that game. And I just don't have the patience for that kind of stuff. I would really like it if they made it, you know, different ways to where it was, I guess, not too much of a challenge. It'd be something for me if I could just be able to play the game and realize that it's, you know, it's going to be, you're getting the scenery and everything, you're seeing all the good stuff as it is, but you're able to play the game and you're not constantly worried about you're going to die every time you turn around a corner. Those are the type of things for me that I don't have time for.
Cool. So don't play Bloodborne because it's way too dark and there's some shit all around the corners.
I mean, I could see that. Like, I know that's a common like meme or whatever of like do they have the difficulty for like I'm a dad and I work all day, kind of thing, and it's kind of funny. But like speaking of the difficulty settings, when some games have like hell mode or whatever, and then they got like super easy mode, or and it just ranges. Like after experiencing a lot of those and living with a particular roommate, Hi D, his philosophy was, if I just buy a game and play it on the hardest difficulty they have available at the start, then I will adapt to the game itself because I've never experienced this game on a different difficulty. So it will just be what it is when I play it at hard mode. And I did try that. I was like, that's not a bad like philosophy, because technically if I've never played it before and I've only ever played it on the hardest difficulty, then I will adapt to the way this game is playing against me.
You told me that, and then I was just like, I will pray for you, man.
And it does work.
Yeah, I mean,
it was
it
fun.
kinda
However,
does.
some games though, their difficulty settings are bullshit.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
what I was
will
gonna get
say Call of Duty Veteran Mode is horseshit. It's it's
It's
definitely
realistic.
it's definitely well, it's only realistic for you constantly getting your headshot. The only thing that like Veteran Mode in Call of Duty should work both ways. But headshots, if you actually play Call of Duty on the easiest difficulty, I feel like it's more realistic because you shoot somebody in the head and they die. This is kind of why I like Rainbow Six, but that's a whole different like story because they're online. Headshots are headshots. Counter Strike is the same kind of thing. But like when you play Veteran Mode on Call of Duty, you're getting killed by people that you've never even seen, and it becomes this like weird. Like I have to die 100 times to memorize the enemy pattern and then proceed by solving this puzzle of going that guy, then this guy, then that guy, then this guy, then that guy, then this guy, and checkpoint. And it's just, it really takes the fun out of the campaign because I do like the campaigns in Call of Duty a lot. And it sucks that those are like kind of the things getting shafted because they're like, oh, let's focus on the multiplayer. The multiplayer. It's like, oh, but I like the campaigns. I mean, I like war movies, so like it really fits. But like, I used to play them on veteran difficulty, and like somebody out there's like, scrub. But it's like, dude, I just don't give a shit. I can't do this anymore. I'm tired of getting shot by an enemy that's not even on the screen.
And then you start playing Kirby. And you feel
And I'm
better.
like, I'm gonna play Kirby, the easiest game ever made.
Well, it's like in Call of Duty, playing on the hardest difficulty is also like literally fighting the game mechanics itself. Because I did see a streamer who regularly plays through like in veteran or realistic mode, whatever the highest mode is, of the Call of Duty games. And there are points. This also happens in Halo too, where like there are certain points where the game just auto saves right before you get shot. So it just constantly in a death loop, literally. So it's like you have to wait. You have to either restart the game yourself or just wait for the game to realize that it just completely screwed you over. And I also it's one of my favorite games, but one of the worst difficulty settings that I've ever had in a game is Skyrim. So I played Skyrim for a very long time. But the difficulty settings for that game is absolute dog shit. It has way more than 4, but it's just like in the same way that like the levels are. So it's like novice, apprentice, journeyman, whatever the fuck. But on the master mode is like the highest difficulty. However, for some reason in the very beginning, and like specifically for me, when you're below level 25, you either get one shot by both arrows and swords, or obviously dragon's breaths, or any other magic. You either get one shot or two shot.
So everything in the game.
Yeah, pretty much. It was like even like the stupid little bear traps. But it's like
I mean, a bear trap would take me out, to be fair.
But it's like after level 25. Then, for some odd reason, it starts leveling out. But also, the game it's like the more you use it, the better you get at it. But being a mage in the hardest difficulty is the worst thing you could possibly do because of the way that some of the levels are, like you get experience for them. So for magic, it's based on the amount of magic that you use while doing a spell, and also the damage that you deal to an enemy. So being on the hardest difficulty, that's gonna take like 3 times longer than it really should, because everything is resistant and you're still the same no matter the difficulty. So if you play on the hardest difficulty, it's worse in so many ways than it really should be. So that's why I never play on that difficulty unless I have the fixed hard mode or hardcore mode mod installed in Skyrim. But it's just like, oh, it's my favorite game, but also it has the worst difficulty mechanics that I've ever had in my entire life.
Yeah, I think that's a problem that a lot of games suffer from, is that on higher difficulties, it's like, what does higher difficulty mean? It's like enemies become health sponges and they also hit like a semi truck while you hit like a piddly little baby. It's like that's the difficulty. It's like, oh, that's just not fun. It's
Outside
like
of Call
I don't want to go smack the mud crab for 20 minutes because fucking they just increased its health for 200% or whatever. It's just like it's not fun.
Yeah, it's just sucks. Which is why it's just like it before like all the patches and stuff. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna try and cheat my way to at least level 25 so like this whole shit evens out.
I mean, outside of like Call of Duty's veteran mode, and then some of these other difficulty settings, like fighting games, I think have also the worst like ratio of difficulty settings, because you put them on very easy and you kind of just walk through it. But if you put on very hard, the games are like uber cheap, and that even spans all the way back to like retro games. Like you put it on hard mode, and good luck, Shao Kahn is going to kill you.
Shotgun is going to kill you on any difficulty. That's like
You cannot jump over him. Like it doesn't matter.
That man has ascended beyond the difficulty slider. He cares not for your small whims. He's just like, oh, is that a combo? Super armor. Fuck you. It's like,
It's
what?
like,
Why?
it doesn't
It's
matter.
like,
mallet,
Check, half
smack.
your health.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'm the final boss of this game, and it's a fighting game. And if I hit you once, that's it. You know,
Yeah. Also, if
fighting
you hit
games are
me,
really
make it
guilty
stop.
of having rough difficulty settings. It's more
Virtual fighter.
fun to play against like your friends for real. Like I understand that's the point, but it's like I'd rather play against a player that's really good than the computer, because at least I might get a kick in. But the computer's like, oh, he jumped high, do this move. Oh, he jumped low, do this move.
Yeah, when I practice against AI in Smash, I specifically don't set it to level 9, because when you set it to the highest difficulty, it's not necessarily that I'm incapable of defeating them, it's because they do not even act remotely close to a real person, because at that point the AI basically is input reading you for their reaction time. So it's like when you hit A, it's before your character even starts their animation for whatever you're about to do, they know what they know what's going to happen. Yeah. So I set it down to like 7 or 8, because at that point the AI is just they make the AI just dumb enough to make some human-ish mistakes. But at some point the difficulty is just like, that's not difficulty. This is just bullshit. It's ridiculous.
You're literally cheating me on this one.
Yeah, it's like that's what it is. It's literally cheating.
Yeah.
I mean, it's beating them on level 9. It still feels like an accomplishment, but like all
not for me anymore, because it's just like, how do I win? It's like I cheese the shit out of them. And I know how to make their fucking brain break in half. It's like, that's how I win.
Yeah, I'm not smart enough to cheese against, and I'm not smart enough to cheese in Smash Brothers, because like I don't know like all the moves that every single character makes or which one's the best. But in fighting games, it's just like the fighting against the computer is just like, it was like, he does everything I do, but better. In every capacity.
And sometimes more than that.
I mean, I don't think there's been a game that I've played where I was like, I am done, like on a level beyond like anger. But Tekken 5 definitely made me go, I am going to fucking lose my mind.
Jinpachi.
Yeah, he's just shooting. I was like, I cannot handle this right now. I have died so many times to a game I just bought for $60.
Oh, that was the game I got for free. He got pissed off. Somebody's like, Jordan, do you want this? And I was like, yeah, I love Tekken.
Yeah.
You're like, you can have this fucking game.
I couldn't return it. I couldn't return it. And I'm just like, get this fucking game out of my house. I can't do this shit.
That was me. That was me in Sekiro in the tutorial. I was just like, I died like a few times, and then I didn't even get angry, but I looked into the future and saw myself. I was like, I'm just gonna give up right now.
There's like 5 cops outside of my house. Like, I can't be that guy.
It's like everyone in my street's gonna hear me because you playing this.
Well, I think there's some games that do it like really well. I mean, I think Mario Kart has a pretty good balance of difficulty settings when you're increasing the CCs. I mean, I know the cars are getting faster and stuff, but like Mario Kart in general's what is it, rubber banding or whatever, the thing where like the people in last can bounce up. I feel like it has a really good balance to it. I mean, I really do enjoy playing Mario Kart. I like 150.
Yeah, I felt like that was Mario Kart has a pretty good difficulty curve. I have to constantly try on 150 or 200 cc.
Maybe not Mario Party, but
again, that just basically we're going beyond into that and just like cheating because the AI knows what's going to happen before we can even see it.
Oh, this is a mini game where we press A as fast as we can. Well, guess how many frames per second I can touch that A button?
Auto clicker activate.
God damn. Another game that actually has really good balance, Handbone, Rock Band, and Guitar Hero. I think that their balance from like beginner to expert mode is really well handled because of the way that they implement the buttons. Like the orange button shows up occasionally in another one. Like it really helps teach the player how to actually use like the instrument for the game, like the special controller. DDR is the same way, and I know they're rhythm games, but like it like is slowly introducing more and more of the thing you're going to be doing rather than being like ridiculously cheap at it. Obviously if you're playing like Through the Fire and Flames, it's going to be
I was just about to say, I'm like, I don't know. Have you played Fire and Flames on expert? That's some
I've seen people beat it, but like it is like more fun to like, oh yeah, I was playing it on easy mode, and then you're like, they have it very easy, and it's kind of boring. But
I've seen some people lift a bus with their teeth. It doesn't necessarily mean I believe it.
But as you build up in those games, like I feel like they do a pretty good job at like ranking up like the difficulty and being fun, because like the sense of accomplishment that you have from beating it, or I guess not failing the mission or the song, it's kind of nice. They do a good job at it. Another one that I can think of that does a good job at difficulty is Metal Gear Solid, because the difficulty, and it's probably a Kojima thing, but the difficulty in that game is directly related to the mechanics of it. So the harder the difficulty, the less UI you have. So it's just like you won't have a mini map because you don't have one, like because you don't have a mini map in real life. There's
I have a phone.
Guns do like actual gun damage, kind of thing. I think the shittiest one, even though it is an espionage game, so much like Sly Cooper's level designs and the game is built about being stealth, Metal Gear's, I think, hardest difficulty is if you're spotted, then it's game over. And that is very tough. However, Metal Gear Solid is also a game that you can beat without killing a single person. So like they really kind of, that whole game is tailored around like challenging gameplay, but not impossible gameplay, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, so I wanted to, you said it, you almost got there. I wanted to segue into something. You were saying a sense of accomplishment. So we're talking about like people who want to take their mastery of the game to the next level with these difficulty settings. And it's like earlier, at least, well, we're in the weird space between before, like after retro games, but slightly before we're in the modern times. Usually doing stuff on higher difficulties would yield you some kind of achievement or an in-game item to coincide with your own personal achievement of mastering the game, right? So it's like, I played Halo fuck ton. I can barely play it on anything but Legendary at this point because of how much I played it. And one of my favorite gaming memories, and I'll always remember it, is when the Bungie came out and said, hey, I think it was when ODST released, and they said, we are going to do this thing where we're going to input like these VidMaster challenges, achievements in Halo 3 and Halo 3 ODST. And these all are like really difficult. Well, I say that there's like 3 of them that are just kind of like trivial, but 2 in particular were incredibly difficult. One especially that sticks out in my mind prominently. To get this recon armor that had been previously locked to only Bungie employees being able to use, and this was the only way to unlock this armor was to do these achievements. There was no other way unless you were a Bungie employee. And me and my friends sat down and did these achievements, and the one that sticks out in my head the most was like you had to do the Halo 3 ODST firefight on heroic, not legendary granted, but you had to get like really like set 3 wave 5 like really far into it within like 5 or 10 lives, which doesn't sound super difficult, but those later sections when they're like, okay, 6 brute chieftains, 1200 drones, 600 fucking grunts, and 12 pairs of hunters, fuck you. And again, you're an ODST, you are not a Spartan here, you're not playing as Master Chief. In Halo 3 ODST, you are incredibly more vulnerable than you are as playing as Master Chief. And we sat there all night grinding this achievement, trying and failing and trying and failing. Like, we were up all night until we finally tagged out our weakest link and tagged in another one of our friends that was significantly better at the game and immediately won that first try, but that we figured out what the problem was. But just that the memory of that night sticks in my head. And that's just a personal anecdote. Things that I also think of when it comes to just like rewards for just small fun rewards that you give to the players for overcoming your game's biggest challenges is like the foam finger in Dead Space, or the real Mega Man suit in Dead Rising. Both these games have dead in it, funny. But just stuff like that, just small things to be on top of your bragging rights or on top of just the sense of accomplishment. The developers are like, here's an item or here's an achievement to show that you did it. You beat the biggest challenge we could put in front of you that we had in this game,
In a Resident Evil 2, it's just like, you beat it on every possible hardest difficulty. Here's a goddamn Gatling gun.
Yeah, it's like, fuck it, have fun. You eearned it,
Well, it's crazy because they used to like provide a lot of, like, you don't really see that in like more modern games. Final Fantasy IX on PS1 has this weapon called the Excalibur 2, and it's like an ultimate weapon for one of the characters in your team, but you have to get to the 4th disc in less than 12 hours. And so it's like, what? It's a like, well, I hope you know what you're doing, but that sword is really good. And then damn it, I just had it. There's another game that provided you with something if you did. Mega Man X, the Hadouken. It was an Easter egg item. You had to beat every boss, and then you had to get to a certain area without taking any damage, and then jumping up off of a thing that was flinging you across the level so that you could land against the wall and climb up. And then you find one more armor upgrade, and it's Professor Light in like a gi like Ryu, and he teaches you the Hadouken. And if you have full health, you can do a Hadouken, and it instant kills anything you hit with it. And so it's like, that's really cool. Like, these are really nice little nods for like giving me something special for like what I've done in your game, and it's almost like I did the borderline impossible, so now I get a reward for it. But those things are being traded now for like my Visa card.
Yeah, exactly. You remove these unlockable armors, because I just remembered, even I believe in Halo 3, the Hayabusa armor that you unlock for multiplayer, you just got that by beating the whole campaign on Legendary. But again, It's just like, beat it on Legendary and you get this cool ass samurai armor that you can use in multiplayer.
But yeah, let's get the sword, I think, if you found all the skulls too or something.
Yes, I believe the katana on the back was like a special thing. Yes, you had to find the skulls, which that not necessarily a difficulty thing, but either way. And then that leads into a whole different conversation about the removing of rewards for accomplishments, and it's just like, how much debit can you fit on your card, or how much credit can you take out before it won't let you anymore?
There's also like some games where it's just like, it doesn't really reward you with like a physical item, but it's like, I don't think it has a difficulty in it, but it's like in Metroid games where it's just like, the faster you beat it, the more of Samus's body you can see without the armor. It's just a funny thing. It was like, oh, you beat it in like less than 4 hours, so you get to see
like
her
the credits
body
or whatever.
suit. Huh?
Like in the credits when she's there. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like a progression bar. But then also in like every single Kingdom Hearts game, it was like, if you beat on a higher difficulty, you get to see more of like an extended ending or like a preview of like the next game's story.
Yeah,
I know that was a big deal.
yeah.
But it's like
finding all the damn 101 Dalmatians and whatever just to get like the teaser trailer for the second game.
yeah. But I think that I don't know if I misread it or if I completely forgot. But I think in Kingdom Hearts 3, which I never actually went back to, but I think it's only available in like the 2 highest difficulties in like hard and critical. There's a special keyblade that you can only get in one of those, and it's the best keyblade. It's for beating the game. I forgot what it was. I think it's just black, white, and red. It looked really cool, but I don't remember. I don't know, and I think that's the Ultimate Blade. I think it's like the Oblivion and the freaking I don't know, Wish Keeper or something. It's like you can only get those 2 in like the higher difficulties for getting to a certain point of the game or beating it, which has never been done in like any of the other Kingdom Hearts games. So I was like, when I first found that out, I was thinking about doing it, and then I could not get past the first Hercules area, because the thing that I did not realize is that this also goes to like the difficulty and design of the past games, because in the older ones it's like a smaller level that you fight in, and then it's like more load. There's like more load screens like per area, kind of in like in the first Resident Evil, where like every time you go through a door, it plays the opening door cutscene. But that happens even less in Kingdom Hearts 3, where each area is like 5 times bigger than a regular area in a past game. So that, combined with the fact that the game only autosaves after each area, if you die and you spent like 2 hours trying to get through the level on the hardest difficulty in Kingdom Hearts 3, you had to start back from the very beginning. And every time you go through, you can like stop like halfway through a level and then go back and then come back and it auto saves. But every time you go back and forth between levels, the enemies respawn. Like every time you go to a bonfire in Dark Souls. So it's just like, this is the hardest difficulty for a reason. So you get through this whole level without dying, and then you can progress. So it's like I was definitely questioning if I should actually play Kingdom Hearts 3 on the hardest difficulty, because I did not realize that beforehand. So I never actually went back to go and try that.
Yeah, and like rewards like that can entice players that otherwise, wouldn't even attempt something like that, to be actually like, what, I'm gonna try and step up to the plate. They might actually even discover something that they didn't realize that they wanted, like either discovering how much they do like challenges or speed running stuff. Because I remember there was an achievement I wanted in Shantae, because on the Xbox you can like, some games when you unlock achievements will have like artwork to go with it, and they had like Shantae in her bathing suit for like beating the game in under like so many hours, and I'm like, well, guess I'm becoming a Shantae speedrunner, and I had to sit down and figure that shit out to get that achievement.
I'm not gonna lie, I went and found every soda can in Stellar Blade because the outfit you get after that.
Well, we're talking less about complete or difficulty and more just
it's
like
more of a
completionist
completionist type thing.
Yeah. Different things, but yeah, I like it when it shows. I mean, to me, it shows that at least the game developers had some appreciation for the people who would go above and beyond to beat their challenges on the biggest difficulty. Because I think the last time I went out of my way to like play or do something in a game that was like really difficult was in God of War Ragnarok, because at the end of the game, after you beat Odin, there's one more like secret last boss. Groa, I think her name was, the new leader of the Valkyries since what's her face stepped down or whatever, and she's like Freya. The secret last boss. Yeah, Freya. And you don't have to fight her, but I did, bashing my head against a wall because I thought my poison fist build was super OP. It wasn't, but I felt really satisfied afterwards because I felt that like that boss fight was like super balanced. Like every time I died, I felt it was like 80% of the time I died, I felt it was like my fault. The other 20% is just like I clearly pressed this button game and you just didn't do the thing that I needed you to do for me to not die there. And then after that, you get like Freya's like ultimate ability or whatever to like sprout her Valkyrie wings again and do like a super move. But that was probably the last time I went out of my way to do like the penultimate challenge after the main game was completed, or I've had any like desire to do so because of how much I fucking love Ragnarok. It's just so much fun to play. So
yeah, it's kind of hard to find like that, like the ability to struggle bus a game willingly because of some of the things that you encounter. Like Last of Us 1, I enjoyed that game a lot, and I beat it I think 3 times within like the first 3 weeks that it came out. And I loved the survival difficulty because it like really makes that game it caters to that game's playstyle very well, because it's like limited resources. It doesn't mark the items when you're walking by with a bunch of UI like pick that up. Like you actually have to keep your eyes peeled, and it's like I have to make a choice. Like, do I want to make a Molotov cocktail or do I want to make some bandages? Like I was never like overstocked. You found like 1 or 2 bullets. Like I don't just have like an ungodly amount of rounds for somebody in the apocalypse. So the survival mode in that game really feels good because it feels like the way the game was meant to be played. It does make it difficult, but surviving an apocalypse is difficult. It's not just like I don't even think the enemy's health changes. I just think the supplies that you get change so that it's more scarcity. And now I have to think how I'm going to interact with these enemies more rather than them just being like, oh, now you have to shoot them 3 times as much because like I don't have 3 times the bullets. It's just I have to make sure I don't miss and that everything counts. And I haven't really found that with like newer games. But I would say like Last of Us fits in that mid section that we were talking about because it's PS3.
Awesome.
And there. Say it again.
I said that's awesome. I would be the opposite. I would want all the bullets. I want to fucking be able to show me where I need to go, give me the goddamn gun, shoot people, and proceed on to the next fucking thing. And hey, I beat the game. I don't want to be fucking having to count myself into what bandages, what am I going to use. Oh no, I want it all. Give me the whole fucking thing. I'm going to go at it. I'm going to have a great time. And I'm going to play the game again in a couple months, something like that. I'm not doing the other way that you said you're doing. I'm not gonna rip my hair out of my head. I'm gonna try to enjoy the game.
Yeah.
Well, the unique thing that Halo has is the skulls, which you kind of pick and choose the kind of difficulty mechanics you would normally have in every other game. What?
Confetti.
Oh, that's not a difficulty thing, but it's like the skulls you can just pick. Like, besides like the heroic, the legendary, and like the normal and whatnot, like you have the skulls that change how the game behaves and the way it treats you. For like famine, you get less bullets, and then when you pick up a new weapon, it has less bullets. So it's just like you can pick and choose how difficult you want the game and like mechanic wise. But then also I feel like The Last of Us, the difficulty for that is similar to the original Resident Evil, where you kind of have to pick and choose your battle and then what to skip and what to stealth past and how to deal with them. So it's like, do you want to waste a match killing this zombie in this one hallway, or do you want to save it for this other zombie,
like when you might actually need it?
Yeah.
Even though I think like the original Resident Evil's difficulty setting is, and I know that you can kind of choose, but I think it also depends on if you pick Chris or Jill, because Chris doesn't start with a gun, Jill does.
But good to know.
Yeah, but Chris has more inventory space.
Yeah, he has more inventory space, but it's like, it doesn't matter. What am I going to put in there? My hopes and dreams? I'd rather have a gun. But, it's funny because like Dead Space, right? It's like I played Dead Space on hard on the hardest difficulty, and I did the one gun challenge when I first played it, which is crazy because like I really was like, oh, I didn't get to experience all the fun guns they put in this game to fight all the necromorphs. So the next playthrough I did after that, I went to easy mode and played with all the guns, and I felt like God. I was just melting everything. It's like flamethrowers, giant saw blades. It's like, what is all this crazy shit? Because the only thing I've ever used the entire time was the plasma cutter. It was really fun to play that game on easy mode with everything because it really felt arcadey. But that was around the same time when I was like, oh, if I play everything on hard mode, that's how it's meant to be. And now it's more like I feel like a lot of people just they don't understand what hard mode should be, I guess. And that's
a fair way to say it. Like I said, like I feel like a lot of developers misinterpret what difficulty is to just be like inflated health bars, increased damage.
This hard mode doesn't feel as rewarding because when you're talking about like, oh, the risk and reward factor, it's like, what do I get now for beating a game on hard mode? Like a trophy, like like that's cool. Like I used to care about those, but I don't. It doesn't matter anymore. Like I don't think anybody really gives a shit about achievement points. I remember people were like achievement point hunting on Xbox because they were like, oh, I have 100,000 points and all this other stuff. And it's like, well, I don't really care about any of that now. Like at the time, I guess it made sense. But what is it? Gears of War has like one of the hardest achievements to get, which is like,
it's not even hard.
10,000 people or something like that.
It's not even hard. It's just tedious because all you do in the game to get that is just keep rerunning that mission where you're on the Brumac and mowing down people because all those kills count. It just takes time.
That's all it is, right? It's a chore. It's not difficult. It's just a chore.
Yeah, that's what Dead Rising is like to me. It's like, oh, you want more PowerPoints or PP or whatever the hell it's actually called?
PP.
Maturity is showing. Hold on.
Yeah, but it's just like that game is just like it's worse than Pokemon and grinding, where it's just like you just mow down a bunch of zombies back and forth and like a giant truck. That's it. That's how you level up in that game, as well as just, like doing the quests on time.
Well, you level up more by taking pictures.
Yeah, it was like I never played like the Dead Rising where you have a camera. All I played was the Dead Rising 2.
Well, I hate to tell you that. Chuck. I think pretty much everyone has. Well, yeah, okay, Chuck. I don't think has a camera. Does he have a camera? No, I guess
he doesn't. Is that the one with the Zombrex thing where you're always trying to?
Oh yeah, his deal is that he got a bunch of XP points by using the combo weapons. That's what Chuck's deal was. I forgot now. Yep, that's it.
Yeah, so it's like that one's kind of annoying, and Pokemon is just time consuming. But at least it's like
time-consuming.
I might find something cool.
Time-consuming, but there's also the rewarding aspect to think of it. Because I was thinking about what Jordan said. I'm kind of with Jordan in the fact that I like feeling like a god when I play games. But I also enjoy the feeling of like earning that power. Like if I just want to straight up feel like a god and just do whatever the fuck I want, I'll go play Dynasty Warriors and just mow everyone down. And as I'm like fucking Moses parting the Red Sea of bodies, just people just standing in my way. I'll just go fucking play Fate Extella or whatever and just mow through people. Yeah. But it's like when I'm playing Cyberpunk now, I'm a god, but I like earn that power because I just like went around, did all the side missions, leveling up to the point that I feel like a god and making a build that it's just like literally nothing aside from the entire might of Dogtown can stand in my way for anything. Because I even did the last fucking boxing mission of that the last time I was playing, and they hype it up so much because this dude's huge. He's like one of the animal guys, and he has like all this fucking tech and chrome on him. Like the quest even has your trainer being like, listen, this guy's gonna win anyway, so you want to make some money on the side? I'm like, nah, I'm here to win. And I get in that fucking ring, and he's just like, I'm gonna rip your fucking spine out. And I just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I win. It doesn't even fucking hit me.
No, he wrecked me like 5 times.
Dude, he didn't have a fucking chance. It was like literally the meme, just like he gets up and I'm just like 1, 2, fucking rocket, punching fist, slam fist, and he's just like on the ground, and I'm just like, well, that was hard.
Is this a boxing match? Because I'm 85% hands.
Yeah, because it's just funny because it was literally the meme of just like this person being like, oh no, not the face, stop, oh no. And I was like, there, I win. That was hard.
I'm bleeding, make me the victor.
And then even in the Phantom Liberty DLC, there's a fucking boss fight, like a mini boss fight.
Oh, the Sasquatch.
Yeah, the fucking big Sasquatch tank, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, I'm gonna fucking punch that thing. And I fucking did. I never pulled out a single gun. It's this huge, like, fucking spider tank thing, and I'm just like, I'm so fucking swole. My guy just goes up to it, starts throwing hands with a giant fucking spider tank. And
you're talking about the Chimera. I was
the
talking about
Chimera
some one.
Well, whatever.
You punched the tank to death?
Yes, I punched the tank to death.
Who wouldn't?
I have guns, but I put them away. I'm like, no, this is personal. I'm gonna punch that thing to death.
Oh, I got guns, but it's not the one you're using.
Like I said, it's just fucking. Dude, like, all my chrome is legendary quality. Like, everything's upgraded. Everything's spec'd into melee damage. I punch like a fucking god. Like, it's not even funny. Like I said, the only thing that has stopped me is the entire might of Dogtown was the only thing that even came close to killing me.
Yeah,
but I earned that power by going around doing all those fucking side quests, you know? I just didn't just come into the game like that, is my point.
Yeah, it's like in the very beginning of Cyberpunk, it gives you, like, a description of each difficulty, and, like, the very beginning is just, like, this is purely for, like, story, and literally do whatever the hell you want, because nothing's gonna matter. But besides, like, obviously the story choices that you make. But then the last one is just, like, forget the story, because if you haven't played this game, you're gonna have a really rough time, because, like, every single level up choice you make is gonna be life or death for you.
Yeah.
So it's like every corner you walk by, it's just gonna be, are you gonna die if you take one more step or no? But it's like also the padding in the game is just like you can. It's like when I reach to the end, like I'm like at the like second to last mission to beating the game, but I got to do the DLC. And then looking back at like the quest that the story quest that I'd done, I was like, damn, I could have actually beaten this game in like a week if I ignored all the side quests.
Yeah,
because that's how short the story is.
Yeah, there's so much side content in the game. It's nutty. And it's like, but here's the thing. It's like, what difficulty am I playing on? I'm like, normal. Because when I play games, I'm just like, if I play games and I'm not like I haven't played them a bajillion times, I just play on normal. Because I consider that what the developers intended for the baseline experience to be. You know,
except for Halo, when they outright said, hey, our designed difficulty is heroic, not normal.
Well, that's the what is it? The canon difficulty of the books and stuff. You know, you can play it on normal. I feel like if you say normal and you say no, our real difficulty is the second to highest. I'm like, well, then why not just make that normal? Shut the fuck up. Normal's normal. It's like, and then you have games that's like, what is it? I think it's Doom. It's a little baby difficulty. It's like someone hold my hand, and then it's like actual soldier, and then just like hell slaughterer and shit because it has like the guy in the bonnet on the easiest difficulty. I think shit's like that's funny.
Metal Gear Solid does the same thing where it's like I think in Phantom Pain or whatever, you play on easiest difficulty, you wear a chicken hat.
That's funny.
You're just insulting the player for being like, okay, you could do better. You can.
Yeah,
but it's like, do I want to increase the difficulty on Cyberpunk? No. I earned that. I might be playing on normal, but I'm strong. I'm strong enough to be a god on normal, so I earned it. And the same thing with like, that's why I feel like the grinding in older Pokemon games is like kind of important because yes, grinding itself is a pain, but once the grind is over, you walk through whatever fight you were training for, you're like, all right, that was worth it. I feel accomplished. You know.
I mean, it's the same thing with the Souls games. It's like, once my soul level is 200 and I'm still on my first playthrough, God help anything that's in front of me.
Yeah.
It's like you've allowed me to get to this point because I've found a way to build myself bigger than this game. I did that in this one game, Star Ocean: The Last Hope. There's this robot character in there and he's kind of like a Mega Man, and I set his skills to be... I didn't even finish the game because I knew I would just win. Like it came down to this point where it's like I don't even want to bother beating this last dungeon because it was so cheap because I would just play as him. He's not the main character, but I had a thing where I would use my health to cast a spell that pulled everyone to the center, and then I would use my mana, which also would heal me. but my mana would shoot a beam that would hit everybody in the center, scattering them, and then I would then use my health again to pull them all to the center. And so it's like, I'm just going to black hole this entire game at this point. So if anything is like this after this, then what's the point in keep going? I know I'll just watch the credits on YouTube because there's nothing in this dungeon is a challenge anymore, and I feel like it's a waste of time for me to just keep playing it.
That's literally a point in Kingdom Hearts where it's just like magnet, pull everyone to the center, gravity, automatically deal 33% of their max health and damage every single time. So it's like any enemy will die in 3 hits, but it's just like that's a cheap way of dealing with a bunch of enemies.
It's like it's finding like an accidental cheese, and you're like, okay, well, this isn't hard anymore.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't work. It doesn't work on bosses.
No, yeah.
That's what I meant, like, circling back to what I was saying at the very beginning of here was the fucking Pikmin thing. It's just like, all solution, get on dog, charge with dog, solution, like, that is the solution to literally everything. So it's just like, It just got boring. I still beat the game, and I did even all the side stuff. It wasn't necessarily difficult, because again, it's just like, what's the fucking solution to everything? Dog. Dog is the solution for everything.
Just bark at it until it's gone.
Why not?
And even like certain bosses were even immune to the stun effect of the charge. It still didn't matter because lumping all 100 of your Pikmin onto an enemy at one time, especially giving them the fucking spicy spray that you can get, which makes them attack twice as fast, even if it's not stunned, they're still dead within half a second. It's just like, wow, that was hard.
Yeah.
As opposed to the older Pikmin games, I have to organize them running around me, and Olimar's fucking throwing them like popcorn fucking everywhere, just being like, I hope I'm hitting them. I hope I'm hitting them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I remember playing the original Pikmin, and I just remember like, wow, this game's pretty challenging. But it was different because it was a very like RTS-y kind of thing on GameCube, and it's like, oh wow, this is kind of challenging. And then like the new modern ones, I think it has to stem from like Olimar's like Smash Brothers character, in which he like plucks the Pikmin and chucks them. They're like, people like doing that, so let's just do that in the regular games. Because he's way fast, and and it just becomes like it's a quality of life thing, but not in like a positive direction. I think it's more of a like, well, now the game isn't as hard because you're speeding up the thing that used to make me nervous.
Yeah,
like reloading in a video game. Like if I never had to reload my gun in Resident Evil, would I really be that terrified? Like, it's
Right.
like, oh, you just, you can find like, weapon mods to get like a longer clip or whatever it might be. But, those are things that you're finding in the game. But if it was just like, you have 58 bullets and you can just keep shooting and you never have to reload. Like the point of that is like, I hope I don't miss because I'm going to have to stop shooting for a second and reload, and they could close the distance on me. And it's not just zombies in that game because there's other creatures. So like when you take something that used to be like the challenging moment and then just, well, people hated that, so let's get rid of it. And it's like, well, now there is no challenging moment. Now it's just,
exactly.
A constant, like, they're trying to streamline the gameplay, but that was gameplay. Sometimes they misinterpret what gameplay is, and like that moment of weakness, having to press the button in Helldivers to reload your gun because it doesn't auto reload. Like that's a part of the game because that whole game is very diegetic with button presses. Because it's like I have to put the combo in. I have to make sure I remember to reload. I have to make sure to dodge. I have to make sure to heal. Like you're actively participating in the game. It doesn't do anything automatically for you. But Helldivers, if they were like, here's auto reload, your character's dying, and as long as you have a stim, he'll auto heal or whatever the hell it might be. Like it wouldn't feel as fun. And so like those are some of the things that we're losing with like the make games easier type of thing.
Meanwhile, Daymare is just like, let's capitalize on this reloading bullshit. Where it's just like, you'll reload like a normal person in real life. You have multiple magazine clips, and you have to reload each one individually in order to reload your gun.
Oh, what was it? Battlefield's thing, though? And this is like another aspect of it where that could hurt, but Battlefield was doing the whole like, because in Call of Duty you might like take a shot at somebody and then reload, so you always have a full magazine. And they're like, well, what if we did it so that if you threw your magazine, you threw all the bullets you had away in that magazine, and then you reloaded. So like you lose ammo from reloading after taking 2 shots. And it's like, well, it's a video game, and I understand the gamification of it is fun, and what you're doing is realistic. But I feel like that comes at like the detriment of the player, because I might have subconsciously, because every single shooter except for this one operates this way, I went to reload my gun and now I have less ammo.
Well, it's like in Damer, it does that same thing, but it's when you pause the game to go to your inventory, it doesn't pause the game. It just brings up the menu, and you're still in the boss fight reloading.
Yeah, that's another Souls-like thing that people grabbed, and they were like, people love it when the game doesn't stop, and it's like the only reason why the game doesn't stop in Dark Souls is because you're online. Daymare is a single-player offline game. It doesn't need to keep going. And you could throw your magazine away and not have a spare magazine. It's just kind of like, where the fuck am I putting all my items?
Yeah,
it's like cool, but it's like cool in practice, or not in practice. It's cool in theory, not in practice.
I mean, it was like, I don't think of, well, it's like, it's Resident, the whole game is Resident Evil, but it's just like the little bits that made it, it's like little bits like that made it difficult, but it's just like the game not pausing when you bring up the start menu. Yeah. It's just like if every game has that, then it's just like, Mom, I can't pause the game. I was like, just count me late for dinner.
Yeah, it's arbitrary difficulty, because it's difficulty that's not like difficult. This is a really weird definition, but I'm gonna say it anyways. It's difficulty that's not difficult because it's difficult. It's difficult because it's annoying.
Well, that's what that brings back to what me and Edwin were saying about the fucking, cutting the fat, so to speak, of like Pokemon, and how that could be seen as cutting out difficulty, but it's really not. It's just cutting out the bullshit. Because it's like, is it difficult for me to catch 300 Ralts to find the one that has the special attack nature? Yeah, but it's also a huge pain in the ass and a waste of time, because ultimately catching 300 Ralts isn't difficult. It's just time consuming. So let's just cut the crap so I can just catch one and just go buy the item to switch the nature, Yeah. It's like, that's technically difficulty, but not really. It's just bullshit. It's cutting the crap.
Because you don't have to do that. It's up to you if you want to spend that much time like doing that, just so you can have a bigger advantage in the game because of you spend 300 hours doing something like that. Yeah, it was like you don't have to do that, because it's like it's a chance, but it's like you can if you want to use your time playing the game. But it's like ultimately that's entirely up to you. Like I don't have every time I play Elden Ring, I don't have to look for every spell just because I think it'll be useful, or it is incredibly useful in one specific part of the game, but useless in the rest. But it's like I still make the choice of going after it.
Rock Fling is always useful.
I still want them because they're cool, and I'm a god.
Well,
you said it wrong. You're a goblin, not a god. Goblin.
It's true. I am a goblin, and that's why I want it. Even armor and gear I can't use, I still want to look at it.
I want it. It is mine.
Put it in the bag.
I want to play fashion.
Put it in my sack of things.
Yeah.
But do we have any trivia for this episode?
You gonna school us?
Yeah, we do. I got some trivia. So,
don't sound too excited. I need you to take a second and calm down. Your enthusiasm is overwhelming.
Okay, so first question. In what 1987 run-and-action game was developed and published by Konami as a coin-operated arcade game under a one-word title? Was it A, Frogger, B, Devastators, C, Contra, or D, Gradius?
C.
Contra.
Answer.
I go with them.
Answer was Contra.
Yeah, it was either Contra or Frogger, because those are the only two games
Frogger's
I actually know
Namco,
about.
Isn't it?
It's a run and gun. He said it was a run and gun. From
Oh, he
Konami.
said okay. All I heard was arcade. That
I
was the
brought
one
up
take. That
two
was the
Contra
takeaway.
games this entire conversation.
If he didn't say Contra, I was gonna pick Frogger because I don't know what the other ones were.
I was just going to say
Frogger,
Contra
my favorite
without
run
any
and
of the
gun.
options.
You got a loaded pistol.
My favorite first-person
Frogger.
shooter, Pac-Man.
Frogger Reloaded.
Yo, there is a Frogger platformer game. We saw it. And it has
yeah,
a
we
title that's very similar to that.
All
He's getting
right.
revenge for all those fuckers who ran him over.
Yeah, it's like, that's it. I'm behind the wheel.
Question number 2. When was Super Smash Bros. Ultimate released worldwide? Was it A, 2017, B, 2018, C, 2019, or D, 2020?
This is gonna make me feel old.
2018.
Yeah, it came out when we were in college, didn't it?
I wasn't in school. I already graduated.
Oh, were we Oh, maybe I wasn't. Okay. Yeah, 2018 sounds right.
2017 was the
19.
Switch launch, and that's when Breath of the Wild came out. And I wasn't in school for that because we were playing the Wii one. So I'm going
Yeah.
to say 2018.
The answer was December 7th, 2018.
Yay!
Hey!
God, that's very on the
Yeah.
wire there. It's like it was like December. Oh shit!
Yeah.
Gotta get those holiday sales.
Yeah,
Question number 3. What is the maximum number of power stars a player can collect in Super Mario 64? Is it A, 120, B, 90, C, 130, or D, 80?
120.
120.
3, because I gave up after that.
Answer is 120.
Yes, that's how you see Yoshi. I think
I don't know.
he's like on top of the castle or something.
That was real.
Well, I know 15 of them are secret ones, like they're hidden throughout the castle, by what I was understanding.
I think you can beat the game with 70?
80. With 80.
80? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Oh, Christ, I have to get 80? Ugh.
I had no
I just
idea.
fight Bowser.
I had no idea that the time in which you enter the clock level in 64 actually mattered to the level inside of it.
Really?
Yes.
Fuck that.
That sounds logical, but in a very annoying.
Like there's
sense.
there's an easier time to enter the map, and it's like, oh my god, are you fucking serious?
Does that matter on the? Does that
years.
apply to only to the remasters though? Because I feel like there's no way that the N64 back then, even the cartridge, could track time.
No,
accurately.
well, it's not like in the time at which you play it, like in real time.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
when you see the clock on the level that you're going to jump into, like if it's at a certain time, it will be harder than a different time.
The best
And
time to
like,
play this game is 9 to 5 when you're working.
yeah, and that's like I didn't realize that. That's kind of wild. Like I didn't, like why would I fucking know that? I didn't have internet.
Right.
There was no game facts to tell me.
Mhm.
Well,
Some ASCII art like maps and shit. But okay,
okay.
that's my rant.
Well, I guess we'll be wrapping it up. Be sure to follow us on Spotify to be notified of new episodes. Give us a comment to show us how we're doing. And to all the gamers out there, just remember to keep exploring, keep playing, and keep listening. Until next time, this is the Mediocre Rumble Brothers podcast signing off. Thanks for listening.
It's not that hard.
Challenge yourself.
Hey, this is Corey, and thanks for checking out Mediocre Rumble Brothers. If you liked the video, please drop a like, and if you didn't, that's fine too. If you'd like us to talk about any specific games, drop a comment below, or feel free to discuss your experience with the games that we mentioned in the episode. You can also listen to our episodes prior to YouTube on our Spotify. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you again soon.